Hello, everybody. Welcome in to Talk More with Matt Morrison. I am Matt Morrison, of course, and join with me today is YSN's own Richie Giuliano. Of course, Richie calls YSU baseball, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about here today, and a little bit of the basketball tournament that has been going on. I know we were talking backstage. You've called a bunch of different other teams. So, whatever you want to go into first, we can. We want to talk YSU, you want to talk basketball. It's up to you.
Yeah, I say
So,
we talk a little YSU first because it's
uh,
fresh on my mind. I mean,
all right,
it
sweet.
was a long weekend. It was a fun weekend. The
Yep,
opener for Youngstown State traveled down to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and
yep,
played a four-game series against the number 6 team in the country in Wake Forest. And they also split 2 games with Illinois.
yep.
Unfortunately, they didn't come out victorious in any of those games, but I think there were some bright spots throughout the weekend. Talking to Coach Bertolini, on the bus ride home, which was a long ride for a lot of those
Yeah,
guys.
yeah,
Um, he was happy with the offensive performance. They had guys that really swung it well over the weekend. Some of those guys that were the top for performers for YSU at the plate. Braden O'Shaughnessy starting right where he left off from last year, the Poland, Ohio native. He was a first
yeah.
team All Horizon League selection last year, and he was 7 for 15 in the 4-game series. Blasted 2 home runs and a double, so he's already hitting 467 right off the rip against some of the best pitching they're going to face in the country. Other
Yes.
guys, Steven DeSanio hit 333, 5 for 15 with a home run. And then Braden's brother, Pad, also hit 333 with 4 hits and 12 at bats and 4 RBIs as well. So his 4 RBIs tied his brother for the team lead over the weekend. And offensively, they were able to put up numbers. They scored runs in every single game, but the pitching staff, kind of held them down a little bit because they're young.
Yes, and I was keeping up on it because I know it started. I would look at the YSN schedule, like, oh, Richie's calling baseball, so I'd come on and see how they're doing and stuff like that. And I mean, I saw the 9-6 loss against Illinois. I'm like, I know they were down in that game too, and they managed to come back. So to compete, I know, like you said, they haven't won, but to come out and compete and at least hit, pretty good against some of the best teams, including Wake Forest, who's like one of the best teams in college baseball. So I like that. I liked what they've been doing, and they got a 4-game stand against Memphis coming up, and then you got Baylor too, and then so talk about that a little bit. I know it's always been kind of a dream of mine to go to Waco, Texas, and at least just to go and visit there. And Baylor's there, so you're gonna get that chance to go down there. Are you excited for that at all, or even Memphis too? That it's a great venue to go and call and even visit. So if you
Yeah.
want to go ahead and talk about that, or even any of the other exciting venues, I saw Pitt on there, and of course Penn State, and I know you've been there before, so go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Bertolini always likes to go out and he likes to play the best competition earlier in the season. One, so it helps the program out financially. Two, so that they could face some of the top dogs, so that when they get into Horizon League play, there's no surprise on what they're going to
Yeah.
get, and they could handle some of the best pitchers in the league.
Yeah.
When it comes to
Um,
venues, Memphis this weekend, FedEx Park, they just put a couple $1 million into that for
wow.
renovations for a new clubhouse for Memphis. So
Wow.
I'm excited to see that park. They started 2 for 3. They won their series at home this past weekend. So, it's another tough team. And then Baylor's always a good
Yeah.
program. I mean, that's going to be a tough series. And then you move on to Kansas State. So you're playing 2 Big 12 schools that are usually at the top of the Big 12 every season. And, it's going to be a tough slate in the
Yeah.
first 4 weeks. The record might not be the prettiest, but by the time you get into that conference play, I think you're going to see this team really start to turn around because you get the bats hot and you get some of your relievers. As I mentioned, they hit every freshman that they threw over the weekend. So every freshman that traveled with the team was able to throw at least an inning for YSU, which I think was key because not
Yeah.
only are you playing a top 10 team in the country, you're getting those guys acclimated to college baseball earlier in their career than usual. Because in the past, as a freshman, a lot of the guys didn't even get action at all. They would usually redshirt their freshman season, or maybe they'd get 3, 4 innings a year. A lot of these guys have 3 innings, 4 innings in a weekend.
Yeah.
So the freshmen are going to be heavily involved. I think this program, maybe in 2 to 3 years, could be at its best. once
Yeah.
you get those guys in the pitching staff, a couple years of experience, and of course, when their body matures, they get stronger and faster. Their velocity grows as the years go on. But overall, I think this is going to be a tough non-conference
Yeah.
schedule. We're going to play in some really cool ballparks. Wake Forest is one of the coolest
Yeah.
that I've ever seen. I was able to go through their clubhouse a little bit before games, and that's a multi-million-dollar facility as well.
Yeah.
They've got like an MLB-like clubhouse, full shower in the back. They've got a full players lounge with TVs, ping pong tables, a kitchen.
Oh,
They've got
jeez.
coach's office, medical trainer's office. I mean, you name it. They've got everything you need. They also have a pitching lab there
Oh,
that
jeez.
was almost $1 million because of all the technology that they have in there. So they take care of their players, and there's a reason they're number 6 in the country.
Yes, most definitely. And like, what the things you just described there, like it makes players want to go there, like,
Oh yeah,
all the stuff they have there, all the money they put in, it's like, yeah, I want to go here rather than there because look at all the stuff they got, all the stuff that's probably going to make me better as a player, honestly, because they have money and they put a lot of money into that. And honestly, I think, YSU go and play in teams like these, our players get that experience like that. And, YSU benefits from that too. We get some money from that going to
mhm,
play these teams. And, the YSU coach, he really sees the hand that he's been dealt with, honestly, when you're playing tough teams like this. So, that's why I think it's great, like you said, to play all those freshmen to really see how they do against, teams like, Baylor and, Wake Forest. And they're like, hey, did pretty good against these guys. So that means when time comes to play teams like Oakland and, teams in your conference, you're gonna really go to these guys and rely on them. So I think it's a great experience for them to go and play tough teams like this, just because you really see some of the best, some of the best players, you know,
yeah.
and you're going up against some of the tough competition. So it's great for them to go, and even though you're not winning games, and you're making it close, maybe sometimes you can pull something off, and that's amazing too, but you're really going in there and just developing guys. Is that kind of how you feel about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's all about reps in the opening weekend, getting
Yeah,
outside, playing against live action that's not your own team, facing
yeah,
somebody different because these guys just don't get to go outside very often and practice, especially
yeah,
in the winter. It wasn't the hottest in North Carolina. I think it was about 45 to 50 degrees every day. There was some rainy days on Friday and Saturday, but overall, just getting outside, playing on a new surface, like a new nice turf surface, and getting
yeah,
out and getting game reps against live pitching, I think is the most important because a lot of these guys, they play against machines, in the spring and the winter season after they're done. So to face an arm like Seth Keener, which they faced on Friday, who's going to be one of the top pitchers in the country, I think was
yeah.
very valuable. And not only did they play well against him, they hit a couple bombs against him as well.
Sweet.
Youngstown State, a team that almost beat Illinois on Friday, they were tied 6-6. Unfortunately, the Fighting Illini came back and they tied it up, and then they took the lead in the home half of the 6th inning. And then you're also beating Wake Forest after the 2nd inning and the 3rd inning by a
Yeah,
score of 3-1. So, at one point, I know it was 18-3 to final, but at one point you're up 3
yeah,
nothing on the number 6 team in the country after
yeah,
Braden O'Shaughnessy and Andre Good hit home runs over left field. So there was a lot of promise offensively. They've got some dudes that played really well. And there's also some players at the plate that still need to improve that have such a high ceiling. Like Turner Graw just didn't have the best weekend. There were some other things on his mind, and it kind of impacted the way he played.
yeah,
But overall, he is going to be a stud of an athlete. He's going to have a chance to get drafted in June and July. So, they didn't have some of their best players step up, and they will throughout the season. And
yeah,
that's what's encouraging for Coach Bertolini. We know we could hit. We're going to be able to hit the best of the best. We're going to have good offensive games. The question is, can our pitching hold up? And that's where the question mark is, and that's where the concern is after the opening weekend. Can our pitching get us through a 9-inning game and save a win? That's the question.
yeah. I mean, usually when it comes down to is your pitching. You can hit all you want, but you're backed up by your pitching and your defense. That's what keeps you around. Everybody says defense wins championships. It goes for baseball too. If you have one of the best infields in the game, you're going to win ball games. Even if you're not the best hitting team, you're forcing other teams not to hit as well, and you can win games by scoring 1 or 2 runs. So it all comes down to the defense and the pitching, catching infielders, stuff like that. And it that really becomes showcased against teams like this. Like, yeah, I mean, they let up 18 runs against one of the best teams in college baseball, but that readies you for other teams that you're about to play. I really think that really prepares them. Like, hey, we're going up against the best. Most most of these guys probably know, like, hey, we might have a rough time, but still go out and try the best you can, and keep your head up, because you're gonna have games like this. And I think games like this, when you lose 18-3, I mean, I think that betters you too, because you're like, all right, yeah, I don't want to lose like this all the time. Whoever you're playing, you don't want to lose like that. So it really kicks into your mind a little bit, like, hey, this stinks. I don't want to do this. So let's play better. It doesn't matter who you play, whether it's Kansas State or Milwaukee. So uh, I think it's a good preparer for everything. But next question here, from last year to this year, I know last year they were okay, and I know they've gotten some upset wins. I remember they beat Penn State, and they play Penn State again this year. Do you think they could pull off something off here in one of these tough games, or like, have you seen stuff? Of course against Illinois, but it's going to get a little tougher with Baylor and even Kansas State. Do you think they might come in, pull 1 out of 3 or anything like that? If you want to make a prediction.
Oh yeah, I think they have some winnable games. I think they
Yeah.
could beat Memphis at least once or twice in this
Yeah.
4-game series coming up. Baylor will be tough, but if they could get one of those, I think 4 they play, and then Kansas State's going to be even tougher to win 1 out of the 3. So
Yeah.
you have one less game to play, but in a way that does kind of help YSU, because what we saw in Game 4 against Wake Forest is not what you're going to see over a weekend in a Horizon League series, because Youngstown State starting pitcher couldn't get out of the first. He was hurt. So,
Okay.
that means you got to throw everybody in your bullpen the rest of the day. So you got to go 8 2/3 of an inning to win the ball game with your bullpen. And that just puts you in a very uncomfortable spot as a manager, as a pitching staff. And then the pitching staff who already threw the day before, they were tired. A lot of these guys were getting their first reps as a college reliever. So their arms were a little bit sore. And they were called upon because you got to go out there and throw some innings. I mean, at that point, it was just patchwork. You got to fill innings because we had nobody left. At one point, we were going to throw a position player next until they decided to move the game to 7 innings, which I think was the smart choice for Wake Forest and YSU. But, overall, it's just going to be, hey, we're going to put some numbers up. We're going to be able to score. Can we get a good starting pitcher to throw 6-7 innings of 1-2 run baseball and give us an opportunity to go to our best reliever, and hopefully he could give us 2 or 3 and you win the game. I think it all starts with our starting pitching, because the starters really struggle to get past the 4th this weekend, and that puts your bullpen in a very difficult situation. So if we could get 1 or 2 good starts, I think we got a chance to win any game.
Okay. Who's the best starting pitcher that you've seen that has done well against these teams? Saying that, who do you think is pretty good coming out of the bullpen?
Yeah, so I think Nick Perez had a great showing against Illinois. His slider has improved a lot. It's moving about 3 more inches off the plate than what he had last year. His fastball's got more juice on it from a year ago. I think he was able to locate very well. He tied a new career high with 7 strikeouts in the 5 innings he pitched against Illinois. So, obviously he was throwing them off guard with a lot of his stuff and his junk. And overall, I think that he was one of the best pitchers over the weekend. Now, out of the bullpen, the shocker for a lot of people was Howland native and Howland Tiger graduate Braden Gebhardt.
Okay.
Braden Gebhardt had an unbelievable weekend, in my opinion. He came out on Friday against Illinois and he tossed 2 scoreless innings. So he was pretty solid in his first collegiate appearance as a Penguin. He was definitely the best bullpen pitcher over the weekend. He came out again on Sunday. He was a little bit tired, or Saturday, and he was a little bit tired. So he didn't have as much on his pitches, and they kind of hit him a little bit. But Friday, for him to come out and just mow people down the way he did, he pitched 2 innings. He got over 2 strikeouts. I think he was the most impressive pitcher out of anybody over the
Yeah.
weekend.
Sweet, sweet, and it's good to come. It's good to see native people like that. From Howland. I've known Gebhard. Past couple of years. Watching
Yeah.
Howland baseball. So it's good for him to come out and get his legs, get his feet wet a little bit against teams like this. And two pretty good innings, like you said, is I mean, hey, that's not too bad when you're playing some tough teams like this to start. So let's switch to the hitting side. Now, I know you mentioned a couple of names in the beginning here, but who do you really think stood out, and who do you really think maybe started off a little slow but could get better as the season goes on?
Yeah, I think a guy that could get better as the season goes on is RJ Sherwood. He's a transfer from the JUCO level. He's a guy that hit a ball about 450 feet against Illinois
Oh,
in
geez.
the opener to tie the game up. So he smoked the ball over left field. I think he's got a lot of potential and a high ceiling. He kind of struggled to put the ball in play over the weekend, but I think they're going to shorten up his swing. He was chasing a lot of pitches out of the zone, and for him, he hasn't seen Division I pitching in his
Yeah,
college career. So, those breaking balls just move at a different level than what you see at the JUCO level.
yeah,
And they weren't throwing him anything in the zone. So, I mean, I think he got maybe 3, 4 pitches in the zone all series. And, he was chasing a lot outside, which, that comes with experience and timing as well. So
yeah,
I think he's going to be able to get better as the season goes on. Hopefully, if he puts the ball in play, he's got a lot of power. He's a tall kid, a good athletic frame. I think he's a guy to look out for that's going to improve. And then somebody I was really impressed was Pat O'Shaughnessy, this 6-year senior from
yeah,
Poland, Ohio. He had a couple of very quality at bats, clutch at bats, 2 RBIs in the loss to Wake Forest on Friday. He much improved from last season. He didn't have his best year as a senior. And then he comes out, he's 4 for 12 with 4 RBIs and a double. I think he stayed true to himself. He didn't try to do too much with the baseball, and he was ripping some balls in the alleys. So he's a guy that I was really impressed with. I knew Braden O'Shaughnessy was going to
yeah.
come out, and I knew he was going to put up a good weekend because
Because
he's
he's a
one of the best
veteran.
athletes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for his brother to hit the way he did as well, I thought was a good sign for YSU because Pad last year kind of struggled in certain months of the season, and hopefully he gets off to this good start and that carries the momentum the rest of the way.
Yes, absolutely. And do you see any let's talk about the other teams here. Have you seen any future MLB players? Like what name really stuck out? Like this dude's gonna be like first round in the draft. And how was that feeling to be like, hey, this guy could go first round, and that I have the chance to call him at college. Like how did that feel as well?
It was cool. I mean, I think for Wake Forest, they're going to have a top 10 draft pick and
Yeah.
right-handed pitcher and Rhett Lauder.
Uh-huh.
Lauder last year was the ACC pitcher of the year. He struck out 10 guys in just 4 innings. So
Oh
that says a
geez.
lot about his slider and the stuff that he has. I think he's one of the best pitchers in college baseball. So he's going to get drafted. There's no doubt about
Okay.
that. He's a top 20 MLB draft projection coming up for this upcoming draft. And then another guy, or another 2 guys I was very impressed with, Nick Kurtz, a left-handed hitter first baseman. He's from Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Oh, all right.
He had one heck of a weekend against YSU in Illinois. At one point, he had 4 home runs in the 4-game series. So he was smoking the ball. He's got so much power off his bat. He's a huge kid. He's 6'6".
Yeah.
I can't remember the weight, but if you put the ball in the zone, he's going to hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
Another guy I was impressed with was Brock Wilkin, their third baseman. He's got a chance to get drafted this year. Probably won't be in the first or second round. I could see him going, mid-range level, anywhere between 6 to 8.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of pop, good fielder defensively. The only thing that is worrisome about him is he strikes out a lot. He's kind of one of those guys that, hey, if he's not putting the ball in play, he's not going to get drafted. But overall, when he does connect, he hits it hard. He had 2 home runs in back-to-back days against Illinois and Youngstown State. So those are the 2 guys position-wise I think that will get drafted. And then the pitcher is a lock for me.
Yeah.
Lauder's a first rounder unless he gets
Sweet.
hurt.
Sweet. Now, I know you've been probably doing your prep for the next teams, like K-State and even Memphis. Do you see anybody that on those teams like, hey, I can't wait to see what this guy does or anything like that?
Well, Memphis is a little bit weird because they get a
Okay.
lot of guys that transfer in.
Uh-huh.
Some guys from like Oklahoma, they got 2 starters that transfer from Oklahoma. They got 2 more that transfer in from community colleges. So when you look at Memphis, they're a team that's utilized the transfer portal to their advantage, and they've kind of brought in a lot of Power 5 talent to come play at their level now in the American Conference. There's not one big name out there that is like Wake Forest, where they had a couple
Yeah.
guys on the preseason watch list in college baseball. I think they're just a fundamental team overall. They've got a dude that pitches, and he's an infielder on the team as
Oh,
well. So that's
so
a kid I'm looking forward to see. He had a good start against Samford in the opening weekend. But overall, I just think that Memphis as a team, they're kind of like unidentifiable at this point because
okay.
they're all a bunch of newbies that
Yeah.
just haven't played much at the Division 1 level, especially the guys that came from Oklahoma. Like, they
Okay.
just didn't get many reps. They're good athletes. They were good recruits out of high school, but when you play for Oklahoma, there's only 9 positions out there, and if you're the backup second baseman, you're only going to play 10, 15 games a year and maybe start
Yeah.
5 of them. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of these guys are coming to Memphis so that they could start 50+ games this year, and so that they could showcase their talent at same a Division 1 level, but just not as high as a Power
Yeah.
5.
And when you get a lot of guys like that, like guys that transfer in, like they're just kind of their own group, that
Mhm.
come in. They're like, hey, we just want to play ball. We only played 15 games here, so like a good example of that of out of the baseball is Mateo Fortuna for Brookfield. He was on Cardinal Mooney. He didn't really play a lot for Cardinal Mooney. Cardinal Mooney's got a lot of great players.
Mhm.
And, I talked to Coach Kerry Palermo about this, and he's like, the kid's got a lot of talent and stuff like that. But, it didn't work out, which is okay. It happens. But to move on to Brookfield, look what he's doing with Brookfield now, averaging above 20 points a game.
Yeah.
So this people fit in different spots, so it's cool to see that they're like starting fresh.
Yep.
They come in like, all right, clean slate, everything like that, and they just go to work. They know they have that shot to get up every morning and go play, and they love that. And when you get like 4 or 5 guys like that, you're gonna have one heck of a team because they're just at that point they're just aching to go play.
Yep.
So they're really gonna put on a show. And they really make a complete team. Like you were saying about Memphis, maybe there's not like one guy, maybe there's like 4 or 5 guys that come out, then just play as a complete team. And the teams like that are some of the most fun teams to watch in
100%.
baseball, in my opinion. There's not one guy that stands out. A lot of teams, you go in, you're like, oh, I can't wait to see guys, like Bryce Harper, Jose Ramirez. There's 4 or 5 guys. You're like, oh, all right, all right. So that's kind of nice too, because when you go to games like this, what if that one guy doesn't have a good game? And it's kind of like, oh, you wasted your money, you wasted your time.
Yeah.
But when you go to a team that has 4 or 5 guys, you're guaranteed like, hey, maybe 2 guys are going to have a really great day. So I like teams like that. So moving on here, we got like 24 minutes. We'll go to the half-hour mark, and then we'll switch over to basketball. But what venue are you most excited to go to? Because I know you've been to a lot of places. I know you've been to LSU. I know Penn State's got a great park there as well. And you were just at Wake Forest. Is there any other place that you're looking forward to going to this year you've never been to, or you just want to go back to, even some place in the Horizon League?
Yeah, yeah. No, I was really looking forward to going to Wake Forest.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think that was the big one when I looked up their facility and,
Yeah.
the tradition they have, with the Demon Deacon program is
Yeah.
just one of the best in the country. So I was really looking forward to going there and,
Yeah.
it lived up to the hype. That
Yeah.
turf is beautiful. The
Yeah.
stadium's awesome. The
Oh yeah.
facility's perfect for college baseball. Holds 3,823, so not too big, but,
But
perfect size for
yeah.
that community. Because Winston-Salem's, kinda like a Youngstown. It's a
Yeah.
little bigger in population, but it feels the same way. It's not the
Yeah.
biggest city in the world. It's not bigger than Cleveland or Pittsburgh, but
Yeah.
I think it's a perfect fit for Wake Forest and their university to be there. And
Yeah.
then another one I'm looking forward to going back is Milwaukee.
Okay.
Milwaukee just
Okay.
built a brand new stadium the past 3 years.
But
It's home to the independent team, the Milwaukee Milkmen. It's all turf as well. They got a gorgeous press
yeah.
box. I got my
Sweet.
own booth in there.
Sweet. Sweet.
They got a nice locker room in center field, and it's a great vantage point. And what's also going to be great about that ballpark is we stay behind the park, so I could walk. I've walked there before with my
Okay.
equipment.
Uh-huh.
One day when they were practicing, I had to do homework, and I told them, "Hey, I'll be there, when I'm done." So
Yeah.
I just walked there, and it's like
Yeah.
3 minutes away from your hotel.
Yeah.
And what's also going to be sweet about that place is there's a Top Golf that's going to be built right next to it. It was being built when we were there last year. I would assume it's done by now because it's
So you
pretty
could
cool.
go play. You don't have to do homework anymore.
No,
We're
I
all
don't have to do homework.
graduated. So
When that game is done,
yeah.
I'll do my interviews or whatever, and
Yeah.
then I'm hitting some balls, baby. I'm
Yeah.
staying there and I'm playing some Top Golf.
Sweet. Sweet. That that would something that'd be very exciting. But me personally, like I've been growing up my whole life, I've just been like amazed by North Carolina baseball,
Mhm.
whether it's college or minor league. Because I mean, Carolina leagues for minor league baseball is huge. You know, Durham Bulls or
Mhm.
the Asheville Tourists, teams like that. Like it would be a dream to go down there and call or in college. You know, Wake Forest, North Carolina State, North Carolina or Duke, anything North Carolina, I'd be amazed with. And it kind of stinks because they don't have an MLB team. So
Oh, they don't.
so minor league baseball is even huge down there, even college baseball because they don't have they don't have an MLB team. And if they were to ever get an MLB team, I don't know, I think it would kind of ruin the vibe a little bit because it's a minor league state. Like
Yeah,
it's
I
minor
feel like
league baseball there.
I feel
So
like Charlotte could get a minor league team. Like,
yeah,
they have a triple A team. I feel like they could get a major league team at some point,
yeah,
on a relocation of some sort, but
yeah,
you're right. I think, North Carolina, as a
yeah,
whole, they've got these cities, and they're pretty decent
yeah,
sized cities, but they're not big enough to hold a
yeah,
major league baseball team. Like, the
yeah,
metro area just isn't big enough.
no,
Charlotte's your probably only chance.
yeah,
But, overall, I think that Charlotte and that area with the Knights there, which is a triple A team,
yeah.
they pack that place like
Oh yeah,
every night.
for sure.
And they get great support in North Carolina all around the board for their
Yeah,
minor league teams. But you got to fill 40, 50,000 a night,
yeah,
in a major league park instead of 5, 6,000 a
yeah.
night.
So
So that's what makes it fun about North Carolina is you have so many places to go to watch,
yeah,
good minor league baseball.
and yeah, I mean, and what else is there to do in North Carolina? Like, what you have the Hornets, but that's NBA isn't all year round. Maybe the NASCAR racetrack, maybe,
Yeah, they're
but
big on NASCAR down
yeah,
there.
oh yeah, yeah, most definitely. But other than that, it's baseball, and NASCAR only
Completely.
goes there once a year,
Yep.
so it's baseball down there. So I think that it's a great opportunity to go there. Yeah, even at Wake Forest or anywhere, even pick a small school in North Carolina. I would go to in an instant if they called me up. Yeah,
Yep.
I would definitely move to North Carolina, and the weather is not bad down there.
It's not. I mean, you still
Highs of
get like 2
70s, lows
seasons.
of 40s, 50s, but
Yeah.
it's not like Ohio.
No, it's not snowing. It's not
Yeah.
snowing every day. That's
So,
for
yeah. But moving on here, I mean, we can jump over to basketball right now. I could take a break. I don't really want to take a break. So,
we're rolling.
we can go right into basketball. I mean, I have seen a lot of great basketball teams this year. Of course, I've been calling Badger and Duncan Moyes the centerpiece of that team, which he's a great
Mhm.
kid, but I have seen some other great players around the league, whether it's Mateo Fortuna for Brookfield and even girls basketball. If you call Salem basketball, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
what a
they're good.
complete team! Camry Rome,
Abby
what's the
Davidson,
yeah Davidson, and there's the other girl Hutton. Hutton
Riley
is
Hutton.
very good too. So, and even Fitch too. You know, I called the game where Zeta Creaky got 1,000 against Salem, which was a hard fought game. But I mean, to see players like that around the league, you know, especially getting out of Badger and Kinsman, it's kind of nice to go see these players, and you know, especially bring them on to the show. I've had great coaches on here. I've had a couple players. Um, I'll be trying to get the Liberty coach on here Wednesday, and look what they've done this year.
I can't believe
I
they
mean,
won that game that
yeah,
well. Bowling.
I know. Poland, I mean, as a 5-loss team, you know, Liberty, who was great last year, but a lot of people, you know, when Sienna Smith went down, a lot of people were like, oh no, what's going on? And they hung around, and now Sienna Smith is back. And I'm like, oh geez, they could easily run it back. And I know I think they're playing. I forget. I think they're playing Lakeview, something like that. Uh, it was supposed to be a matchup with Brookfield again. A lot of people wanted to see that again because it was going to be a rematch of the district final last year. But Brookfield got upset by Cardinal Mooney, and you know that happens. You know, stuff like that happens. You know, and I really think like this is our March Madness. You know, for high school basketball, and you know stuff like that happens. You know, it's nice to stir that up a little bit. So, but I know you've called Canfield a couple times. I tell you what, probably one of the best in transitions guys I've ever seen. Who's got speed and he can just make things happen on the court. Tony Russo.
Yeah.
This kid can fly. If you want to talk, if you want to go ahead and talk about Canfield, I know you're from Canfield. You've called Canfield, so you can go ahead.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals are young,
Yeah.
but they're balanced. Like they've got a
Yeah.
lot of sophomores that start. They're bigger too, which is always a big thing in high school basketball. When you got two guys that are 6'4"
Yeah.
and above, I think you're going to have a lot of success. So yeah, I mean Tony Russo is a guy that got
Yeah.
some playing time last year. He didn't get a lot, but he's come out this season, and my goodness, is he made a gigantic leap for this team. His ability to get to the basket and score the basketball has been huge for the offense. And then, defensively, he plays great on ball defense, high IQ basketball court awareness. When somebody's driving, he's always helping.
Yeah.
And then in transition, like you said, when they get
Yeah.
him in transition, it's over because, he doesn't look like the fastest guy, but once you get him dribbling
Yeah.
the ball half court to,
He's
the
good.
basket, he's there in 2 seconds. And you're like, what is happening? Like, where did
Yeah.
that come from?
And you know what the crazy thing is? Both games I called for Canfield, they've lost. Both games. They lost to Cardinal Mooney when I
He
called
did.
them, and they lost to Fitch when I called them. So I've seen them when they lost, and I'm like, they're still playing great when
Yeah.
they lose. Just Fitch, the one kid, Deshaun Vaughn, has had a great game. He came out, he was hurt all year, and he's
Yeah.
just aching to play. So he came off and just had a great game off the bench, mind you, too. So, but I mean, they have other great players too. Jake Schneider's a great guy to get inside the paint as
Yeah.
well. That kid is almost unstoppable. And then there's the other guy, I forget his name.
You got a couple guys that are big. Ben
Yeah.
Weaver, really
Ben Weaver.
number one.
He's
Uh,
scrappy too.
yep.
Yeah.
DeLucia.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
DeLucia's the big guy off the bench. And then
Yeah.
you got Ross Tech, who's 6'6"
Yeah.
as well. So they got a lot of size. I mean, Ross Tech's the only senior on the team, which means everybody's coming back,
Yeah.
which is scary.
Yeah.
Ursuline's the other team
Oh
that'll compete.
geez.
I mean, Canfield and Ursuline, they're not in the same district,
No.
which really made me upset because I wanted to see those two play in the
Yeah.
district final potentially.
Yeah.
But instead it'll probably be Canfield and Cheney or Canfield and Alliance, which would still be a great matchup.
Yes, most definitely. And I've been looking at these future matchups, like, you know, even for me, like Wednesday night, I'll be at Ridge calling Badger and Matthews, and Badger's beaten Matthews twice this year.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very hard to beat a team 3 times in a year. It's hard. I don't care what their record is. I mean, they're there. It's
Yep.
playoffs. It's different platform too. You can throw regular season right out the window. It doesn't matter who you beat or what your record is. Look at Liberty. Look
Yeah.
at
I
Liberty.
mean,
Just took on Poland. So
Liberty and Lakeview are in the district
yeah,
semifinal. Like
yeah.
I don't think anybody thought
A
that was
lot
gonna happen.
a lot of people were expecting Poland and Brookfield.
Yep.
Honestly, yeah, Brookfield got upset by the by Cardinal Mooney in 18 seed, and then Cardinal Mooney lost to Lakeview,
Yep.
an even lower seed, I think. So it's awesome to see teams like this just turn that switch on, and you never know who that's gonna be. And tomorrow night when I call Badger boys against Fairport, like Fairport beat Badger earlier in the season on a buzzer beater shot. So it's a little nerve wracking. Badgers got a tough road. Then they gotta go play Springfield too at home.
Yeah.
So back to back games, like yeah, I mean they might scrape away and win. They should, but it's not gonna be easy. It is not gonna be easy.
Well, I'm
So
looking at the other side of that bracket. I know
yeah,
that Willoughby is really
yeah,
good. That the
yeah,
Christian school.
yeah.
I
Oh
know
yeah,
they're very good. They'll probably play them either they'll play them in the district final if they
yeah,
get there. Matthews is the 8
yeah,
seed.
yeah.
They took the bye, so they'll probably play Matthews in the district
Yeah.
semifinal, which will
Yes.
be a really good game.
Yes. Oh yeah.
So
And
you're right. I mean, Badger, although they played fantastic in the regular season,
yeah.
they're going to have a tough slate to get to the district
Yes.
final for sure.
And I look at them as like my family, like I'm great. Like I bring Josh Upshire on the girls broadcast with me all the time, and he's been on the show. I've had Cole Burnett on the show as well. Great group of kids. But they've got some stuff to work on, and coaches talked about that defense and rebounding, and besides Duncan scoring off 30 points, who's going to be that next guy? You're going to have Brad Hamilton or Cole Burnett, or even guys like Bryce Gross coming off the bench. Guys got to step up. It's a different stage,
Yep.
so we're going to see a lot of that tomorrow, and what games? I know you got some games coming up. I know your schedule is pretty filled with YSU baseball, but I know you're going to be calling some good basketball games too if you wanted to go into that.
Yeah, I got some good ones coming
Oh
up.
yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
got well, Canfield and Hubbard
Yeah.
might not be the best game tomorrow night, but
Yeah.
Romo and I are calling that one, so we'll have some
Sweet.
fun.
Sweet.
And then Wednesday, the day before I leave to go to Memphis, is the big one. I got 2 games in Streetsboro. Canfield against West Branch, which is a rematch. Because Canfield, the number 1 seed, beat West Branch. It was the first week of the season that they beat West Branch.
Yeah.
And Gregory was still playing in that game. So that's a bright spot for Canfield because she missed the majority of the season, after the first 2 weeks. And then she came back, and they've been dominating ever since. But she was healthy when they beat them. So they have beat them before. And then I'll have Howland against Salem that night at 8 o'clock. So 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock starts, which is kind of unusual.
Yeah, I get that too. So Wednesday at Mineral Ridge, I got Badger and Matthews, and then right after 8 o'clock, I have it's gonna be Western Reserve and I think Lowville. Yeah, Western Reserve and Lowville.
Okay.
And Western Reserve is the 3 seed, so they're gonna be they're pretty good too. So if everything goes right, it should be Western Reserve Badger in the district final, which is going to be one heck of a game.
It will be. I saw Western Reserve play twice this year.
Oof.
They're fundamentally sound.
Yeah.
I know that they've been a fundamentally team for a long time, but they've got some players that could hurt you, especially from deep. I know that Shantz, who their 3-point leader is, she could shoot it from anywhere in the court. And then you go down low, and you got 2 players down there that could beat you. So, they kind of use that inside out game where they'll go down low, then they'll kick it out to their shooters. And then defensively, they just play fundamental. I mean, they're straight up on you. They don't do anything special, but, they'll beat you down one-on-one.
And Badger's the same way. I mean, Badger is a defensive team. Okay. They are fast. The one girl, Hannah Betts, I can't talk more highly about her. She's probably going to get a state in track. She is fast. Oh my gosh, Richie. The girl would come in, make a layup or miss a layup, and the other girl from the other team. This happened. Sebring. They played Sebring, and I've seen this with other teams too. The girl got her own rebound and was halfway down the court, and here comes Betts already down with her, catches up with her and blocks her shot. I'm like literally, she reminds me of Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman would fly around. He would give players problems to players like Charles Barkley, and
Yeah.
so they're really going to use her. Against Western Reserve, I think it's going to be great. We got Anthony Hartwood popping in here. Let's pop him in here.
I heard you guys talking about girls basketball.
Yes, come in and talk about
girls
me.
Basketball. You know me. I'm like a moth to the flame.
Absolutely. But it's going to be great. I can't wait for these girls basketball tournaments. And another team who's not a YSN team, but Marlington girls basketball is
top
state. Girard is a great team. Girard beat Badger. They're a great quality team, and they outran Girard. I was like, what? 45-10?
Marlington's defense just absolutely shut down everything that Girard wanted to do.
Yeah. And Badger has that defense too. I know Sebring is Sebring, but 25 steals in a game. 25 steals they came away with. And they've been doing that all year long. They've been doing that against Bristol. They've been doing that against, even they gave Ursuline problems. When they lost to Ursuline, they were giving them problems. They were giving Lily Scott serious problems. So the name of the game for them is defense. Great defensive players. Gabriella Miller and Hannah Betts are your two defensive players, and Katie Grefsa gets in there everywhere. So it's going to be fun to watch them. It's been exciting for them. And, other teams too. Salem's one of the top-notch teams, and you get teams like West Branch and Western Reserve in there too that are going to make a case for this too. So it's going to be exciting. I know, Anthony, you got some good games coming up too. So if you want to talk about that, you popped in here.
Ritchie has the best district. He's going down the streets on Wednesday. I'm kind of jealous. Look at that. You got Canfield, got Salem. They're on a collision course, but obviously West Branch and Howland both coming off of really impressive sectional championships. They want to spoil the party a little bit. West Branch is a lot healthier than the first time they played Canfield. Sophie Gregory's back on the floor, which makes them just a lot more dangerous than they were back in the start of the season. So that should be interesting. And then obviously Howland wants a little bit of revenge on Salem too. Those are two early season matchups that were dominated by Canfield and Salem. I think Howland and West Branch both want to prove that they've grown up a lot since the start of the season.
Yes, I think that as well. And, we were talking about Liberty just a little bit ago, and I know my man Alec Caberna calls them, and he's been talking to me all week. Matt, he's been sending me clips.
Group message.
He's been sending me clips of them, and I'm going to try and get clips of them on the show. I just got to figure out how to upload them and stuff like that, and I get some highlights on here. And, if you guys get highlights too from your games, I know there's probably going to be some great plays. Send them my way. I'll get them onto this show. But Liberty is insane, and they haven't had Sienna Smith all year long. Now they got her back. And to beat, Richie and I were just talking about how they beat Poland. Poland they only lost 5 games all year.
You know what what was the key to that, Matt, is Liberty had the height advantage almost everywhere on the floor, and Poland's defense loves to trap. Well, if you're trapping girls that are taller than you, it doesn't matter. They just kind of stand there and just do this.
Yep.
And that Poland's defense is the trap. They run that zone trap in the half court that gives a lot of live ball turnovers. It couldn't work against Liberty because they were taller than almost everybody on Poland's team at every spot. So Demi Watson is taller than people give her credit for. She's like 5'8", 5'9".
Yeah.
Sienna Smith is tall. Foster can just post up now because she doesn't have to work the perimeter because Sienna Smith is in the game. So I think it goes a lot further than just Sienna Smith's ability to score. I think Sienna Smith's ability to let Aaliyah Foster be in the post and ability to let Demi Watson be off the ball a little bit more. It just changes the whole dynamic of their offense. It's not just about the points that she can bring you, which are important, but it's also just about the extra spot that she fills that other girls had to fill when she was hurt. But now it's they're back in their normal position.
Yes. And I'm working on getting head coach Deidre Watson on here. That's probably going to happen this Wednesday. Of course, it is her last season. She's going to retire. So it'll be great for them to run it back and at least get back to that district final like they were last year. And this year they're underdogs, and I think that'd be even greater for her to finish off. Like,
well, you look at that district.
They're not favored in some of these games. I mean, I know on Poland at least, and to come out and beat teams like that, it's gonna be great. So
you look at that district, Matt. You have 2 Garfield, but after that, you have 11 Kirtland, 12 Liberty, and 15 Lakeview.
Yeah, Garfield is gonna be tough.
It's been madness.
Seed. I think Kirtland's in there too.
Yeah, Kirtland's the 11th seed.
Yeah. I'm looking at it right now.
I forget what seed they are. They're a big seed.
They're a 16 seed. Garfield's the 2 seed.
Yeah, so they have 16, 15, and 12.
Yeah, Lakeview is the 15, and Liberty is the 12.
You see what Kirtland did to
you probably see a 12 and a 2 or 15 and a 2. You never know what's going to happen.
I mean, Kirtland smacked Villa Anna St. Joe's.
Yeah. Like,
also, another good district in girls basketball is the Division III Northeast 1.
Yeah.
Shaker Heights, Laurel. I think
that's a good district because Laurel's in it.
Yeah.
And then Mentor Lake Catholic against Crestview is going to be a heck of a game.
It's going to be a good game.
Yeah.
Laurel, they're just one of the best teams in the state. I keep telling people, and I don't think you have a respect for it until you see it live. Their talent is out of this world, and they played the 3rd hardest schedule in the state of Ohio across all divisions, according to Martin RPI, and they still had double-digit wins.
Yeah, because they're only 15-6, but they're losing to like these Division I like Columbus teams, like Pickerington and Westerville, and all these other teams.
And this is, I mean, teams like Cardinal Mooney too, like the boys team, have been playing tough teams all year long too. And when I had Coach Palermo on last Monday, he talked a lot about like, hey, like playing these tough teams, like it really prepares them. I mean, they won districts last year. Look at all the tough teams they beat last year. I mean, one of those teams was a Camel team that only lost 1 or 2 games all year. And here comes not small, but Cardinal Mooney coming in here and just boom. So,
yeah, and Gina Lucente bringing up Lowville, who gets into the district semifinals.
Yeah.
That Mineral Ridge district is sneaky good.
And I'll be calling Lowville and Western Reserve this Wednesday. So you never know who's going to just sneak in there. Western Reserve, great team, but Lowville, I mean, they're there. So you got to play them. Same thing, Badger Matthews. Badger beat Matthews twice this year, but it's very difficult to beat a team 3 times a year, especially a rival like Matthews. So
I'll bring up a point real quick for you, Matt, and this will probably help you with your prep. I did the Lowville against Western Reserve girls basketball game in Western Reserve.
Yeah.
This was about a month ago. Lowville was winning at the end of the first quarter. They were holding Western Reserve, I think, to just 2 or 4 points after the first quarter. They ran a 3-2 zone, and Western Reserve didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So I would expect the same thing for Lowville to come out in some sort of zone, some sort of awkward defensive position where Western Reserve needs to take a quarter or 2 to kind of figure out how they want to deal with this.
Yeah.
And I mean, Western Reserve broke it open. If you look at the scoreboard, it was like a 25-point win.
Yeah.
But in the first half, it was like, Lowville's got a chance to win this basketball game with the zone that they're running.
Yeah. And, playoffs is different. They're going to push harder and harder. And, I like teams like this. I like upsets. Of course, when you're following a team all year long.
You
like
called Lowville's upset last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know firsthand what they can do in the tournament.
Yeah. When you're calling teams all year long, like I've been with Badger and, Richie, you've been Canfield, and Anthony, you've done a lot of South Range. Like when you follow them and they lose to an upset, like that's heartbreaking. You want to see that, like you want to see your team go. But like other than that, like if you're calling some other game, it's like, hey, I want the upset. So
what's even worse though is when the lower seed is about to pull off the upset, and then the higher seed shoots like a buzzer beater or
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, oh.
something. Oh
Are
my,
you
we were
serious?
so close.
It's bad. It's bad.
Uh,
And
I had a
No.
buzzer beater on Saturday.
yeah, oh
It
geez.
wasn't one that decided the game, but I mean, it was still a half court shot at the buzzer that went
Yeah.
in. It was something you don't get too often in basketball.
No. And we've been getting quite a few of those this
I know Mooney
postseason.
hit one to upset Brookfield
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, we'll just send it to overtime
Sent it
at
to
least.
overtime, but still.
Still, like, we've been seeing those. And the last time I called Badger Fairport, the Fairport kid Godomsky heaved a like 30-footer at the buzzer to beat them. I've checked the play a couple of times. He might have taken 3 or 4 steps that they didn't call.
That's his
But
his Badger his
yeah.
Badger homership
Yeah.
card going right
Of
there.
course,
Yeah.
you want to check the film for a
Yeah,
try.
I checked the film.
Check the film.
Throw
I
the red
mean,
flag,
but
instant replay.
it's still the fact that he hit the shot. I mean,
Yeah.
Badger was down that game too.
I remember when speaking about check the film, funny story. A couple of years ago, YSU did that half court shot for money or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember whoever was shooting it hit it, but the
Yeah.
insurance company was like, "We need the film," and he had like half his foot over the line, and the insurance company wouldn't give him the prize
Are
because
you
of it.
serious?
Oh yeah, it got. I was like, "Oh come on, man!"
Oh,
they got really.
That's insurance for you, man.
Yeah.
They're stingy with
remember,
the money.
We don't want to give up this whatever it was $5,000 check.
I remember when Richie and Ty and DJ were in Vegas. That's when I went to Fitch. And Fitch, the boys game, Fitch was playing Canfield, and I know Ty really wanted to be there to see Zeta Creek get 1,000 points and stuff like that. But Vegas is pretty cool. But
Yeah.
I mean, so at halftime in the boys game, they've been doing this half court shot all year long, and this girl has missed every shot at half court. And that just so happens when I was there, it was the first ever one she banked it in. And I'm like, oh my God, like she hasn't made this all year long. And when I come, I see 1,000 points and I see the girl hit the half court shot at halftime. They're like, you need to come here more often. A lot of more good stuff happens.
Matt's got the mojo. And then Ty went and did their tournament game and they lost.
Yeah.
So I think Ty's officially kicked out of Fitch.
I've actually, I mean, I'm right down from Austintown and Ridge when I'm here, and my girlfriend and I go to Sam's Wedgeon all the time, and that's right next to Fitch. And all those Fitch guys are in there, and we were there the other night, and they all remember me and stuff like that. And they're like, "Oh, we need you back," and stuff like that. So it's nice to go in environments like that.
That's
and
it.
People
Ty's
recognize
been,
you. People
Ty's
recognize.
Been replaced.
No, I'm not replacing anybody. All right, but like it's nice to.
Matt's gonna be standing on the bar saying, "Let's go Falcons."
Yeah. Actually, like that's a Fitch bar. Like, I mean, if you looked at some of the menu there, like the drinks they had, the one drink is called like the Falcon Pride Punch or something like that. So like that is Fitch in a sense there. So it's a nice little venue there. Well, so
what I like about that too is like, when you're done with a high school game or something and you want to grab something to eat, it's
right there.
These small communities, it's like you want to go somewhere where there's going to be a good environment after the game, And, there's a lot of places like that across different communities. Like, where can I go eat? Oh, this is the go-to place where everybody goes to eat after games. Like, it's always cool to walk into that environment and see people celebrating and having a good time.
Yeah.
Instead of just going to the drive-thru and getting like McDonald's or something.
Yeah.
Burger
and
King.
Fitch, and when I called the doubleheader at Fitch, I sat in the Fitch gym and did my story and clipped the 1,000 point, and I did work. And everybody left, and when they all came back, they all came back from the Wedgeon. Like they all, like every one of them went there in between games. So like that's the spot.
Yeah.
So
it's good there. I mean, we have our player profiles there with the Fitch football team.
Yeah, and they have great food. I just had some of their wings the other night, and their wings are really good, and they have good burgers there as well.
Dude, their back burger is ridiculous.
Yeah, I've had it all. I've had all their burgers. It's good. It's good food there. But hey, we got to wrap things up here. It's 55 minutes in. We're gonna wrap things up. I know Anthony's got Running Point coming on next.
Need to talk more turn into a breakdown of local cuisine. I'm hungry now.
I'm starving, man. I want to go eat. But Richie, thanks for coming on here. Anthony,
Yeah.
thanks for coming on the end here as well. But hey, we'll see y'all Wednesday here on Talk More with me. But thanks for everybody tuning in, and we'll see you later, everybody.